For the Bangladeshi Gen Z, she might be the longest memory of a prime minister. She held the position for about 3 decades, building a strong legacy and a tight bond with neighboring India.
Welcome.
She wasn't just about politics. She showered India with gifts like tons of juicy mangoes, fish, and traditional sweets.
Hasina ji এসেছেন পূজোর সময়তেও আমি ওনাকে চিঠি দিই, উনি আমাকে শাড়ি পাঠায়, আম পাঠায়, ইলিশ মাছ পাঠায়।
But the woman who was once unstoppable was now facing a death sentence and exile due to her crackdown on dissent, and the same youngsters who grew up watching her as PM were the catalyst behind this change. Sheikh Hasina was born on 28 September 1947 to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who would become the first president of Bangladesh. At the time of her birth, he was a young political activist and had just started his political career in East Bengal, which was then part of Pakistan. Over the next 2 decades, he gradually rose to prominence, ultimately leading the Bangladesh independence movement and becoming the nation's founding father in 1971.
বাংলার মানুষ মুক্তি চায়, বাংলার মানুষ বাঁচতে চায়, বাংলার মানুষ তারা আজ তার অধিকার চায়।
Young Hasina's worldview was shaped by her father's political influence. She started her schooling in Tungipura, a small village where she was born. She was 7 years old when her father was elected as a legislator and the family moved to Dhaka. At age 19, she was elected vice president of the Students' Union at Eden Girls College, where she did her bachelor's. She was actively involved in student politics during her master's degree at the University of Dhaka. She was 20 when she married physicist M.A. Wazid Mia. 2 years later, Bangladesh saw a huge wave of protests known as the Mass Uprising of 1969. It was a major movement against the then Pakistani government, fueled by demands for autonomy and justice. Hasina was right in the thick of it, actively participating alongside students and activists. Later, during the Liberation War of 1971, she was imprisoned by the Pakistani army along with her husband, mother, sister, and brother. She finished her degree at Dhaka University 2 years later. In 1975, her father and most of her family were assassinated in a military coup. She and her younger sister, Sheikh Rehana, were the only survivors because they were in West Germany at the time. India gave them asylum for 6 years.
Well, India is our tested friend, and after 75, when we lost, we two sisters, you can see, when we lost our whole family, father, mother, brothers, everybody, only we two survived, so they gave me shelter.
In 1981, the 34-year-old was made president of the party which her father had been a part of, the Awami League Party. The same year, she returned home to a massive crowd of supporters. She played a pivotal role in the pro-democracy uprising that toppled military ruler Hussain Muhammad Irshad in 1990. She teamed up with other political parties to hold pro-democracy street protests and became a national icon. In 1996, the 49-year-old was elected Prime Minister for the first time after her Awami League won 146 out of 300 seats. During her tenure, she signed the Ganga Water Sharing Treaty with India and a peace accord with tribal insurgents in southeast Bangladesh.
आप आइए बांग्लादेश में, देखिए बांग्लादेश को.
On the flip side, her government was accused of pocketing cash from defense deals and perceived by her critics as too subservient to India. Hasina was said to give India leverage through security and economic cooperation. This included allowing Indian companies to secure profitable agreements within Bangladesh and granting India access to vital waterways. She lost the election in 2001 due to anti-incumbency and was replaced as Prime Minister by her former ally turned rival Begum Khalida Zia of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. The intense rivalry between the two reportedly led to a regular occurrence of bus bombings and forced disappearances and unlawful executions. In 2004, when she was the leader of the opposition and speaking at a rally against terrorism, a grenade attack there killed 24 people and caused her hearing damage. She returned to power with a landslide victory in 2009 after a period of political instability and military interventions. Bangladesh experienced significant growth during her second term. The economy saw an average annual growth of 6% between 2009 and 2023. Poverty levels dropped from 11.8% in 2010 to 5% in 2022, and its per capita gross domestic product overtook India's in 2020. Her government also undertook large-scale infrastructure projects, including the nearly $4 billion Padma Bridge. At the same time, she was accused of turning autocratic and cracking down on dissenting voices. In 2021, the US sanctioned Bangladesh Police's Rapid Action Battalion for serious human rights abuse. The Treasury said NGOs have alleged that RAB and other Bangladeshi law enforcement are responsible for more than 600 disappearances since 2009, nearly 600 extrajudicial killings since 2018, and torture. Some reports suggest these incidents target opposition party members, journalists, and human rights activists. In 2023, over 170 influential people from around the world, including former US President Barack Obama, former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and U2 lead singer Bono, signed an open letter to Hasina to stop the persecution of Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus. He would become the Prime Minister of the interim government after her government would be overthrown from power in 2024. But ahead of the general elections in 2024, thousands of opposition leaders and supporters were arrested in what the Human Rights Watch called a violent autocratic crackdown. Hasina rejected claims of authoritarian rule and human rights abuse by police and security forces. The same year, she came to power for the 5th time in a row. But the main opposition party, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, had boycotted the elections. The BNP's main demand was that Hasina step down and a neutral caretaker government conduct the election. The Awami League rejected this, so the BNP refused to participate. So when Hasina won again, the US and the UK publicly said the vote wasn't free or credible, pointing to arrests of opposition leaders, low turnout, and serious limits on campaigning and dissent. The Hindu said she won in a virtual one-party contest. But just 5 months after she was re-elected, protests broke out at university campuses over reservation for government jobs. Hasina said those behind the demonstrations were traitors and government forces cracked down heavily on them, leading to the death of about 1,400 people and injuring thousands.
এইখানে দ্বন্দ্বটা সৃষ্টি করে এটা একটা ট্যাকটিক্স। তার মানে কি মুক্তিযোদ্ধা সন্তান নাতিপুতিরা কেউ মেধাবী না, যত রাজাকারের বাচ্চারা নাতিপুতি হলো মেধাবী, তাই না?
The protests became a broader anti-government movement, forcing her to step down as Prime Minister and leave the country. In the worst political violence that Bangladesh witnessed after the 1971 war, protesters stormed into her home, vandalized it, and looted things including her saris. They didn't just target her house, but also her father's, who was once the founding father of Bangladesh. Hasina fled to India on 5th August 2024 and took asylum here. 1.5 years later, Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal sentenced her to death in her absence for crimes against humanity. Interestingly, she is the one who set up this court in 2009 to try war criminals who allegedly worked with Pakistan during the 1971 Liberation War. Like Hasina, this tribunal convicted many alleged war criminals in their absence. And critics believed its powers were misused to go after political opponents. When Hasina became the target of conviction, the tribunal brought 3 key charges: incitement to violence, ordering killings, and failure to prevent or punish atrocities.
For all these 3 counts, we have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
Hasina rejected the ICT's verdict, saying, "The verdicts announced against me have been made by a rigged tribunal established and presided over by an unelected government with no democratic mandate. They are biased and politically motivated." In their distasteful call for the death penalty, they reveal the brazen and murderous intent of extremist figures within the interim government to remove Bangladesh's last elected Prime Minister and to nullify the Awami League as a political force. Guilty or not, the legacy that Hasina inherited from her father and built later on was now on the brink of being reduced to dust. I am Hamna Hissam Siddiqui, and I bring you the news of the week with Brut.